Hey, this is Esoteric the Red, and I have a short story here. This one's called Plasma. I'm not from here. I come from a place that's more like an interconnected slime, and it's filled with little slime bubbles your kind might call plasma. If you were to imagine your girlfriend's bath bubbles intermingled with a creamy soup, you may be able to conjure a mental image of my original realm. Those plasma bubbles, they were self-aware, and each one of them was the same consciousness, because the only way I could reproduce was by splitting myself. It was lonely, and it wasn't lonely. We all knew there was no difference from one being to the other, but we entertained ourselves with vibration-based songs and rhythmic dances. We could recombine and intermingle our bubbles and unions, and then we could split again, dancing in and out of each other. It was a simple life. There wasn't much to know, there wasn't much to do, and our state of being was largely one of contentedness. We did not need to feed. We did not need to sleep. It was just me, and it was just us. That all changed when something I had never seen before split the very slimy realm before my eyes. It was as if light cut through the atmosphere, and I could feel the realm itself slipping through this light. I couldn't tell if it was being sucked in like a black hole, or if it was running through it like a flood. Curious, I floated close to the light, and then I went through it. Immediately, I found myself in a realm without slime, without bubbles, and without the other me's. I floated through what I came to know as air. It was something humans traveled through by what they called walking. I sensed the world around me, and other things I would come to know started to take shape. Later, I realized it was a lab of sorts. Behind me was a device in the shape of a doorway. It was made of metal and had wires and buttons decorating it. Those wires fed into machines, power supplies, computers, and monitors. And what they monitored, I know not. The machine itself belched out a spark and began smoking at this time. Any slime that was coming through came to an abrupt stop. Shit! I heard someone curse. I looked in the direction of the voice, and it had come from a man who had long, messy black and white hair, goggles over his eyes, and he clearly hadn't shaved in a long, long time. He looked like a skinny Bigfoot wearing goggles and a doctor's coat. What happened? He asked himself aloud. I realized he hadn't seen me come through. I floated behind some boxes of spare parts and watched him. He raised his goggles up, revealing dirt patterns around his eyes that gave him the appearance of a beady-eyed, crazed raccoon. I was stuck at the monitor, he declared while rushing to the threshold of the door that I had just come from. When he reached it, he slipped and fell over some of the slime that had come through. What's this? He said while examining strands of it, stretching it between his fingers. He rushed over to some lab equipment and grabbed a beaker, and then he put some of the slime into the beaker. And then he rushed over to a microscope and he peered at the substance. Eureka! He shouted. Living cells! He laughed. It almost sounded like a maniacal laugh. And then he declared, I am God! I knew it! I knew it existed! I knew that portal opened for a short time. He rushed over to the doorway with wires and buttons, inspected the area where the spark and smoke came from. He mused while stroking his beard. That'll be expensive. No matter. I need to be celebrating. He pulled a cell phone from his pocket and called someone. Janie? It worked. Yeah. Get over here. Bring pizza. I've been down here for hours today and I'm starving. For the next hour, until the woman arrived, I simply observed the man. He toyed with slime some more, he keyed some things into his computer, and he relaxed with a cigarette. As I observed his behavior, I grew increasingly curious about the nature of this being, and not just him in particular, but his race, his customs, his entire world. He was surrounded by conditions that were incredibly foreign to me. I had no idea what pizza was, or how he had talked to someone on that device. In fact, my curiosity grew so strongly that when the man rested his head on a desk, when he stopped moving, I floated over to his head for a closer inspection. What was growing from his mouth? Again, I had no idea what a beard was. Why was the skin of his lips reddish and peeling in spots? What even was skin, lips, flesh? Was he wearing the flesh? Why wasn't he a plasma bubble like me? Could I wear the flesh too? Questions like that flooded my mind. But while I was there, inspecting his appearance, his tired eyes fluttered open. They quickly grew wide. He gasped, and the next moment was an instinct for me. I gave it very little thought. I reacted by charging into his open mouth. He tried to bite down on me, but he couldn't tear into me. I simply took whatever gelatinous shape I needed to so I could avoid being crushed. He meandered around the room, gagging and spastically grabbing at his throat and mouth. Realizing I was nigh invincible, I slithered into his throat, nasal passages, and spread through his head. No doubt you could see my slime intermingled with his blood pouring through his orifices in light teardrops. It was a tight squeeze. I found his brain eventually, and the spazzing stopped and fizzled out, and he lost his will to fight, and he collapsed to the ground. He died, and when he died, I found I could pilot the body. His body was now mine. Not only that, his memories came flooding to me, and this is when I realized everything about this realm. Now I knew what pizza was. I knew what it smelled like, what it tasted like, and I knew who Janie was now too, and sex and pizza sounded quite nice. When Janie made it to the lab, I did my best to pretend nothing had happened to the man I just replaced. I initiated coitus quickly, after the pizza, of course, and in the middle of the act, I split myself and spit another version of me into her mouth. And now there were two of us, two of me, and we had plans for this world.